Okay, I just got done reading Michael J. Fox's Lucky Man. Great book. He talks about his career from childbirth to 2002. And it seems like he's still working, because there's a Michael J. Fox show that came out a couple years ago. And he's talking like he was going to end his whole career and everything within a couple of years, or a few years after this book was published in 2002. But a lot of great stuff. There are some things I had to skip over. I mean, his childhood I didn't need to read so much about. Maybe I skimmed through it, not so much skipped through it, and that was about 20 to 30 pages of his early life in Canada. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff here that he goes into better detail with. I mean, he was a lovable character back in the 80s. I enjoyed watching him. Just watching him develop and stuff, and his humor style was really, really hilarious. He had a personality where, his character, he had to be egotistical. An egotistical businessman who's kind of ruthless, but he still had to be lovable. And he played that off really well. And he made it sound like, he's lucky, but, I mean, he still did some good work himself. It was luck based on just good work and himself. There's not a lot of pictures in here. If you're looking for pictures, there were a few. I was surprised by the size of his jaw in one. When he was 16, I don't think I can find it right away here with one hand too. But a lot of great ideas here I'm taking. Oh, that goes way back. I'm taking from it. Those who got get. I thought that was interesting, and I mean, a lot of people have echoed that. They've said, people with the riches tend to have people who go out of their way to give them stuff anyway, and they don't need it. They're rich already. So he's got a pretty big job back when he was 16. They're going to have him play a 12-year-old. This is his Canada role on theater, or maybe his television. But yeah, he was auditioning as a 16-year-old for a 12-year-old part just because he was so short. They figured maybe he could do it. Those who got get. He's just talking about the early fame and how things seemed to come so easy to him, but later that came back to bite him because he took a lot of it for granted, because he was delegating a lot of things to his agents and people who just cared for him and stuff so he could do his thing. He never had his wedding with his wife, he's only had one marriage. Wife, he's never had it. The publicists, the people, all the smut, dirty magazines, they offered him $50,000. They offered him all kinds of benefits. Hey, we'll protect you from the other media guys. We'll pay for your wedding. Just let us film it. Let us be the cameraman. He turned it all down, and it was all private. So, but they still flew the helicopters over his wedding as a kind of he thought, flexing their muscle, even though they couldn't get a shot. And he was joking about getting a post-coital interview, like after having his nuptials or whatever, they'd interview him afterward, or after his, whatever they call it. It's getting warm in here. That the first few nights after the wedding thing, they'd interview him about that. People have done that with other mediums. But he was just joking about it for his time. He graduated in 1994, which is the same year as me, but he had to get a GED. He dropped out of high school. I think he was born in 62 or so, and if he graduated the same year as me, I mean, he's like over 10 years older than me, I believe, so I thought that was kind of humorous. Great detail on brain surgery. I think I'd like to just copy that for my blog. I mean, maybe I'll reword it a little bit, but just fascinating how they go into detail and digging into a skull. He had brain surgery in maybe the mid-90s, and they went to the core of his brain to change things up, to zap things. And that's the thing, you know, they use electricity to zap, to destroy cells, to stop his hand twitching. He had this hand twitching. It started out with a pinky, and then it went to the whole hands, and then it got to his arm. It was just twitching, like he said, it was flapping. He had that stopped with surgery. It was down to the bare minimum, and then his right side started getting bad, and you know, the other side is just, and he expected that, and then it started going to his whole body, twitching, and all because the center of his brain was just, the cells were dying prematurely, the ones that would control the nerve impulses. And that's why he didn't try anything but the drugs, which he timed the drugs perfectly as best he could for shows. So when he was on TV, he had to take the drugs before the TV show, and then just kind of in private let himself shake, because there were side effects. But he only took the drugs. He tried exercise a few times, like intense exercise. He tried just doctor stuff, the surgery. But he never tried like magnet therapy. He never tried herbal therapy. He just kind of went with what the doctors had to say, all those professionals. And and now he's an advocate for stem cell research because of all this. Yeah, it's just an amazing read. I look up to the guy. I mean, wow, he's just somebody you watched on TV. You saw a lot on TV and heard about. Read about on the tabloids, even though he says they weren't true, really, none of them. All the teen beats and who's cuter, him or Kirk Cameron. Really entertaining stuff. I'd recommend reading it. It's older, but it's a historical reference, pretty much. So you learn what the TV life was like in the 80s, because today we got YouTube. I could put this up on YouTube. I mean, everybody else is fighting for attention. He wouldn't have gotten this as much attention now as he did back then. So it's something to be thankful for.